Hi everybody out there. Just wanted to say hi and welcome everybody. I'll be looking around here at the screen just to try to follow along in the conversation. But I also wanted just to say hi to everyone out there that's joined so far. And we will be adding this to YouTube after the fact and saving it on Facebook. So if you have to come and go, don't worry. We'll have it saved there for you later. So let me just look at my notes here. Just want to say hi and I hope everyone out there is doing well, being safe. We're in some really strange times, but I know we're all looking for ice, looking towards ice out. And a shout out to all those first line responders too. It's because of them out there that we get to be safe in here. So this little video is kind of just hopefully a bit of a distraction. Should be maybe about half an hour or so. But if we go over, that's fine too. So feel free to pop in the chat there and ask any questions you have about camping or canoeing, and hopefully maybe I can answer them or some of the community can here as well. And I have a few little things laid out here to go through on our little chat. So to kick things off, let's talk about food. Actually, we'll go back a step to the gear. We'll start with gear. How about that? So all my gear is stored in the basement of my house, and it's not a particularly wet basement. I don't ever go downstairs and find there's water dripping down the walls or anything like that. But we got a dehumidifier just to try to suck out some of that moisture from the air. And it was kind of funny because once we got it and it ran for about a day, I realized after coming downstairs actually how much drier the air actually felt. It was much better. And so that was kind of neither here nor there, other than when I got back from a recent winter camping trip up in Algonquin. And winter camping gear gets wet pretty quickly. Like you're sweating, you're perspiring in your tent. It soaks into your sleeping bag. And so you come home, you have to air everything out. And the nice thing about having also a dehumidifier was that normally I would just be draping things like my sleeping bag or my tent or over some racks or the door to dry out. Well, the dehumidifier was sucking all that moisture out, especially with a down sleeping bag with all that water soaking into it. Just helps pull it out. And so kind of a 2-for-1 kind of deal, perhaps. You'd think you're helping out your house, but you're actually helping out your camping gear. And all year long, too. I'm sure we've all been on some pretty wet canoe trips. We come back with all our gear just completely drenched. And so why not help out your house and your gear at the same time? Keep it all together in the same room. And so speaking of the sleeping bag, so I was kind of thinking, since I just got back from a winter camping trip, just go through some of the things that I do when I get back. And one of them is drying everything out. But so, for example, here's a down sleeping bag. Now, the down's DWR coated, so it does resist clumping up and all that moisture that you expel from your body as you sleep overnight. But normally what you do is, like me, you'd pack it in a scrunchy bag like this, pack it down nice and small so it fits in your backpack, and store it away maybe like that. Well, the problem is with that down, when you keep it compressed for that long, you're actually crushing those feathers. They don't, it's almost like a living thing. It actually breathes a bit. And so make sure when you get back from that camping trip is to take it out of its stuff sack, air it out. Let me just open this up. Oh, hi there, Marion. Hi, Joshua, Kelly, Bill. Holy smokes. Hi, everybody. Thanks for attending. While I unstuff the stuff sack. So, here's a big sleeping bag. And as you can see, it puffs up quite quickly and takes up a lot of air. And that's a good thing. You want to store it like that so it can breathe. But it's kind of clumsy. Hopefully, when you got your sleeping bag, it also came with a nice big mesh bag. And this is how the best way to store it is just simply stuff it in here, not too tightly, and it'll breathe. So Bill, you don't winter camp. So purely for moisture problems, or does the temperatures scare you? I found for me it was the temperatures, and so the way I stepped into winter camping was start with short trips, that were maybe say -10 and up, and that way you didn't have to invest into too much gear. Hopefully you can use some of your summer gear and make it a comfortable stay without having to worry about it going too freezing cold and your teeth chattering all night. Unfortunately, it does require a bit of expenditure. Like, a down sleeping bag's pretty pricey. You might be able to squeak by with a 3-season tent, but 4-seasons tent is good for snowfall. The way that they're built is just to be able to support more snow. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you think about winter camping. Hi there, Kelly. Welcome to the chat. So there we are. It's simple as that. Don't keep it in its stuff sack. Put it in a nice big bag like this so it can breathe, and it'll do much better. You're also trying to, when you invest that much money in gear, you want it to last as long as possible, and this is one of those things that definitely help doing that. So let me toss this to the side and we'll go to the next thing. So starting to go towards summer gear, I thought I'd pull out one of my favorite pieces of gear, and that's my MSR Waterworks. So this is a water filter, and I was trying to go back and figure out how long I've had this thing, and it's easily 20 years. And I know some people prefer the kind of the bag system where you fill one bag and it drains into the other while filtering all the particulates. And that's like the best for especially large groups. If you want to pump water, this is good for filling up an Nalgene, not good for big parties. You'll be spending all day doing this, and that's no fun. But I find I do a lot of solo camping. And, oh, sorry, Bill is commenting here, so you're too old to start new things. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. Those are two of my favorite things. And I think it was because I enjoyed snowshoeing so much, that's what led me into winter camping. The two just went hand in hand so perfectly. Cross-country skiing is another fabulous way of I enjoy that one better for doing, you get out so much further. Snowshoeing, you kind of plod along and you make shorter trips. But anyway, you tried a yurt. Aren't yurts fantastic? What a great way to get out in the winter. Like, we get kind of holed up here all winter long and become a bit of a hermit, but that's a great way to step out in winter. Yurts, heated. You bring lots of food with you. You get the comfort of storing some stuff in your truck, so it's nearby. Great idea, Bill. Just reading Kelly's comment here. You do your down bag because of sweat and humidity. Yeah, for sure. In the dryer, really. I've never tried doing that. I was always worried about putting too much heat into it. But that's interesting. That's pretty neat, Kelly. So you have a down bag as well? I think once you go down, you don't really go back. I've now traded in my sleeping bag for a down quilt in the summer. Just find it so much easier and lighter, and you're not kind of feel like you're in a little cocoon. You can actually stretch out a bit. So yeah, down's wonderful. So yeah, so back to the MSR water filter. So I'll blather on about this, how great this filter is, because I've had it for 20 years. And it's never failed me. And why do I like using and fighting with this silly little thing so much is it's reliable. It never failed me. And I know that while I'm out there, there's some things about the way that it was created that it's easy to maintain. And I know that if I run into a problem, I can easily fix it. And so here in this filter, it has a cartridge inside. And so let me quickly take it apart. You would take off your lid, put it on top of your Nalgene, throw this end in the water, and pump away. It is a bit annoying, but the best place to do it is while you're out paddling. Out in the middle of the lake, drop it in the water, because that's where you can get kind of the clearest water, not when you're back at shore and you're dealing with all the muck and insects and grime and stuff like that. And it'll clog up really fast. When you're in the middle of the lake, you rarely run into any kind of clogs. But we're not quite there yet. We're kind of in that shoulder season camping. And what's best to do right now while you're waiting for ice out, drumming your fingers, is get yourself a little maintenance kit. And you're like, ugh, maintenance. Well, it's actually pretty quick. And that's what's nice about these MSR filters. So in here are a couple of new rings and a new little filter nozzle thing. So in the end of here, it has a piece of foam, and that's just to kind of block out any large particulates. You know, your sticks and big twigs and dirt and things like that, that if they got in here, it'd gum it up. So there's a new piece of that in there. And then the whole filter just unscrews and then pops out. So there's a ceramic filter. And so why that works so well is because it has, so it's porous, and then when you do the compression action of that handle, it pushes the water through that, and the pores are so small that it blocks all the bad parasites and germs and giardia and all that fun stuff from going in to your water. Now, so that gets gummed up over time, and in the little MSR bag that you store it in is a little scrubby pad, and you just wet your ceramic filter, give it a little scrub. That cleans up any of those microscopic pores that you can't quite see, and it starts breathing. You know, it filters much quicker again. If you ever notice, you're sitting there trying to pump a simple 1 liter Nalgene, and it just seems like you're going nowhere. Step one, just rinse that off, give it a scrub, good as new. But here in ice out kind of waiting zone, you want to do a bit of spring maintenance. And so in that maintenance kit I was mentioning, there was some little rubber rings here. That's one of them. That just kind of helps create the vacuum. So swap that out. It's not something you need to do every year, but if you use it a lot, definitely do that. I do mine every couple of years. Same with the cartridge. It actually can, after you kind of sand it down so many times, it becomes too small, and then particulates can squeak by. And so on the bottom of it actually has a little measuring device. And what you do is you try to slip it over top. And so see, I can't. So my filter's still okay. It's still a good size. If it pops over top, you know it's time to buy a new filter. Again, just to go even a step further while you're doing your little maintenance, everything kind of just pops out. So there's a little screw there that keeps everything together. Just simply slides out. And once you get past the suction, there we go. There's one more ring here. And that's about it. You can clean up the little spouts and here and there, make sure they're not gummed up. One other nice thing is perhaps you don't have a maintenance kit while you're out in the field and you're having some problems with the pushing motion. You can actually just use a bit of lip chap and put it around the O-ring. Pretty nifty. Like it's built to be maintenance, taken apart that quickly and then back together again. And as I say, I've had mine for 20 years. Hasn't failed me. So let's check in on the comments here, see how things are going. Bears. Martin, thanks, Martin. Bears, I have never had a problem with bears. Definitely seen them. They're out there. I don't actually hang my food. I should have brought it up with me. Do you mind grabbing my food bag? It should be down. I'll actually have it. Lovely assistant. My wife's going to run off and grab my food bag, and then I'll come back to your question, Martin, okay? Kelly, only down will do. Thank you. Yeah, all right. You're in the down club. I appreciate that. Matt. Hey, Matt. Thanks for joining. And I think I'm fairly caught up. Okay. So those are great. I assume a lot of people enjoy the gravity filters. I assume that's what everybody out there is using. They're pretty painless. Like you fill up one bag, you elevate it, it goes through the filter and drains into the big massive bag, which gives you more water than you need. And then to clean it out, thank you very much. To clean it out, you just fill up the other bag and reverse the motion, and it cleans out the filter. And what a simple, I can see why people choose that than fussing with this thing. I just find for solo trips, I'll put up with the fuss just to know that I have the reliability. Not that the gravity bags are unreliable, but I feel like I can manage everything that could possibly go wrong with this and still have clean water, because you can't be out there on a 5-day trip and not have clean water. At least, I guess, the worst case scenario, you resort back to boiling. But anyway, back to Martin. Where do you keep your food? So I have one of these sacs. It's bear-proof chomping kind of. It's like a Kevlar combo sort of thing. And I swear by this. This is where I put all my food. It does come with smell-resistant kind of Ziploc bags. Is anything truly smell-resistant? I don't know. But it does help kind of cut down on your food smells breathing and wafting out into the woods and the bears coming by for a snack. So I definitely use these Ziploc bags that go in there. I dehydrate my food, which we'll talk on next. And so I can get quite a few days of food in here and safe. You don't necessarily have to hang it up in a tree. The idea is that once you give a good knot shut, you can actually kind of just store it by the base of a tree. They've thrown these in bear cages and they've gnawed on them and they can't get into them. The worst you could possibly have maybe is a bear will pounce on it or try to squish it and your bananas will get squished. It won't really harm your dehydrated food at all. And maybe worst case scenario, they drag it off into the woods a fair ways. So other than that, I can't say. I find just because I'm not using a food barrel and I'm not going on that many 20-day trips or with a big group. If I'm solo or with just maybe one additional person, I can get by with just this. And kind of maybe where all this factors into my great strategy in the great realm of things is that all of these items will fit into my canoe pack. I try to get down to a single portage, which means compressing everything down into very small things. A small water filter, dehydrated food, just one single food bag. And with all of that, hopefully I can do a single, that's the idea. Right? I can't stand going, you have a 2-kilometer portage ahead of you and you got to make multiple trips. So that's how I try to do it. I hope that kind of answers your question. And if not, feel free to keep commenting and we'll jump back to you. Kelly loves her Gravity Works filter. Yeah, you just can't beat it, right? You just fill it up and away you go. Johnny uses a Hyperflow. That's pretty cool. Bill, yeah, Gravity. Johnny uses tabs. Really, I remember trying tabs when I was a lot younger and couldn't stand the taste, and I've never gone back. I've gone to trying using. I remember my friend and I, we went out with. He had the Katadyn water filter and I had the MSR. We kind of compared them as to which one we liked better, and we agreed we didn't quite like the pumping action on his. The handle was too small, and so I've fallen in love with the MSR. And because it's never done me wrong, I've never switched. But definitely when I go out with groups, Gravity filter. Yep. Yes, sacs with rodents, mice, and chipmunks. So I wish I had the video. I was doing a time lapse and I had this sitting kind of in camp with it open because I had just finished lunch. And so my wife and I were down by the shore and we look back and there's this bag starting to move. I'm like, what on earth is going on? And I get closer and a little chipmunk pops its head out. Like, for Pete's sake. So I turned the camera on it and hoping to get the chipmunk, working away. And actually, this is the very bag that he gnawed on, the Ziploc bag. He's gnawed open the Ziploc. But so I have a stop motion thing of the chipmunk. Anyway, so much for that video. But it's not bad. Mice won't get through this. This bag is actually no longer made. They've gone to a completely new series of bags. You don't have the white one anymore. There's like a black one and I think a gray one or something like that. And they're all different various plateaus of price and functionality. The lower one is good, I think, for bears, but not rodents. The big black one does it all. Bears, mice, any type of critter. So they can't gnaw through it. It has to do with the weave and whether or not they can kind of pierce it and start getting in there. Thankfully, this previous generation one does both. So, stupid mice. Yeah. Bill, does the filter tabs if moving during the day and I run out? Yeah, for sure. And I think I like what you do, Bill, there is have a fallback plan. So if you ever drop the filter or the bag in the lake, you still have tabs to get you by. Great idea. Yes, Johnny, great comment on those little tabs, the Mios and the Noons or Noon, wherever you pronounce them. Those, my wife loves them. She just gave me the thumbs up. There's so many different types of flavors of these little tiny kind of tabs you throw in the water. And then I see that falls back to getting rid of the funny taste from using the purification tablets. Yep, throw in one of those tabs and they give you some electrolytes so you don't get dehydrated. So those are fantastic, especially when you're out long days in the sun, long portages and paddles. You're out in the sun, you don't, with beating down, you get dehydrated really quick and you can get kind of lightheaded, especially on a portage. So those little tabs kind of give you might not feel it, but your body will appreciate it. So thanks, Johnny. That was a great idea. Aggressive chipmunks. I know. Isn't that funny? They're so tame these days, and we are kind of our own worst enemy. Like we leave food out so the chipmunks come, and we leave food out at night so the bears come. And so if more people would just kind of curb that and keep a clean campsite, you stick this, way in the woods. It's not meant to stay on your campsite. You're supposed to kind of keep it away. You're training those bears and rodents and stuff to stay away. So it's annoying because if anything, boy, I'd just be livid if I had a little mouse or a mole or something nibble through my tent in the middle of the night because of some kind of food smell. Just that's the one thing that if they're trained, they know that there's a reward for them by eating through your tent. Oh boy, you just want to squish that little guy, right? Because what an annoying thing to have happen. You're trying to keep the water out, and you can have a little mouse ruin your night. So, just reading through the comments here. That looks like we're kind of caught up. Hey Dean, welcome to the video, and Tony, really appreciate you guys joining in. I appreciate that. David, hi David, welcome. And just to everyone who's joined in as well, if you've missed anything, I want to catch up later, I'll be saving the video to YouTube and Facebook, so feel free to catch up. Martin says, do you use any type of bug repellent or bug net? Are you made of leather? Yeah, it would be nice to have something like this. Yeah, bug repellent for sure. DEET seems to be the way. I don't think there's any winner, like anything out there. The Permethrin, however you pronounce it, DEET, some of the other ones that are more eco-friendly, they all seem to have some kind of potential problem. Like Health Canada has to vet them, so they've gone through the testing, but you're always niggling in the back of your head, like, is this safe for me as I'm spraying it down? And I find that on the high end of things, the DEET is the most effective. Like, bar none, it'll keep insects away. It does wear off. You do have to reapply it, especially the hotter you are, the more you sweat, the more it kind of washes away. So you have to keep putting it on. Is that good for your skin? I don't know. But I definitely use it. My biggest kind of beef or thing to watch out for is ticks. They're a growing menace here in Ontario and growing across Canada. More so kind of along the southern regions. Again, DEET helps with that. I no longer, if I'm doing any kind of portaging or hiking along the southern ranges of Ontario, I won't be in shorts anymore. I've kind of had to give up wearing shorts on hopes that I'm going to keep myself a little healthier. With ticks and Lyme disease, boy, it's a scary time. And as we have our kind of climate change sort of thing happening, you can watch these charts online, and you can see the red zone as these ticks are advancing further and further north. They attach themselves to a bird flies further north, and they drop off and create a new family there. And they're marching north, and it's really annoying to me. I find it, of all the things I feel like, I actually don't fear bears whatsoever. I find they're not much they're kind of an annoyance if they're coming into your camp. That's about it. But ticks can cause an actual problem with Lyme disease, and so I'm kind of hyper aware and vigilant. Checking myself at night, armpits, groin, anywhere warm is where they like to burrow. Maybe even back of your neck or back of your ear. So have a friend check you over too. Spots you can't quite see, just to make sure that you're healthy and okay. Oh yeah, your belly button, of all places, they can kind of crawl away in there. So just watch yourself with that. But yeah, back to your question. DEET seems to be the one I use. Bug nets for sure. Yeah, in the spring, or when we definitely have June high bug season, bug nets are definitely another way to go. Lee Valley actually had a new set I saw where it was not only the bug net, but there's actually like bug gloves, and they kind of stop at the ends of your fingers. And whether or not that'd kind of still give you some paddling, grip sort of thing, I'm kind of curious. Haven't tried them out, but that's an option out there too. Hello from Milton. Hello to Milton. Thanks, Cheryl, for joining. Really appreciate that. Kevin, thanks for the compliment on the shirt. That is from the Canadian Canoe Museum. I know in these tough times too, we're all trying to survive out there. Definitely go support your local outdoors store, your mom and pop shop. I'm sure they're going through a tough time, and so many of them are still carrying on their online stores. So buy a shirt, help support them. And how are we doing here? Permethrin, yeah. So Joshua, you've been using the Sawyer Permethrin and spray. So are you ordering any from the States and then coating your own clothing, or are they available in smaller amounts and you're just spraying yourself, sort of thing? I'm kind of curious. Yeah, permethrin's toxic to cats, and so that's a tough thing when you spray your clothing, or in some case coat it, like dip it, and you come home. Now you're causing potential harm to your cat when you bring that clothes back in. So just you'll have to manage that a little closer as far as how you wash it, how do you store it. Maybe you have a garage and you can kind of keep it out there for the time being. That's a good comment, Dave. And David, thanks for mentioning that. Okay.
Dean's asking about dogs.
Dogs? Oh, thanks, Dean. So you have a question about dogs. Let me just find that. What considerations do you make when bringing a dog? Winter camping or summer camping? I guess I'll start there and I'll try to expand from there. For winter camping,
Canoeing or hiking it too.
pardon me?
Canoeing or hiking.
Canoeing or hiking. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of ways you could bring your dog. Dogs are such a wonderful thing to bring with you on camping. It helps lift your spirits. They're invigorated just as much as you are by it. They're just enthralled by the fact that here they've been stuck in these four walls, and there's a massive big world out there. And so they're so happy to hop in your canoe and come with you or hike with you. Basically, anything you do with them, they'll appreciate it. So I know for winter camping, I haven't brought my dog winter camping yet. And the main reason why is because cold from seeping up from the ground. I mean, I have this, nice, cozy down sleeping bag, but it's only as wide as my sleeping pads underneath. I have 2 sleeping pads. And so that doesn't, if I bring my dog with me, sure, hopefully I cross my fingers that she'll be smart enough to maybe pile on top and we'll keep each other warm. Excuse me, but there's a lot of the tent that's still touching that cold ground, and that will seep the heat right away from you. So I haven't been brave enough to bring my dog with me because I'd have to have more pads or something else that I could lay around my tent where she could sleep on safely and not wake up with her teeth chattering, right? Summer camping, though, definitely much easier to bring your dog that way. So with the summer camping, of course, yeah, no problem with temperatures really, other than maybe too warm, might be having to pant a lot. Bring a water bottle. I know with our dog, we have these Ruffwear saddlebags, and they kind of go over her back on either side. And on one side, we can cram in her food and a doggy bowl that collapses from Ruffwear. And on the other side, we have a Ruffwear collapsible, just a water bowl, and a few other things like a first aid kit and things like that. So she's going in with everything that she needs for safety and for food. And so that kind of helps take all that gear off our backs. Sleeping on the ground, not so much of a problem. I find the most curious thing that when Hadley comes in the tent each time, I haven't quite figured out. She's a long-haired kind of a golden doodle, and she loves brushing up against the tent, and she'll go around and around and around and around. I don't know if she likes the static build-up or something. She finds it incredibly fun to do. Anyway, once she settles down, she's out for the night, no problems. It's always nice to gradually also wake up in the morning to your dog too. They're nice little kind of warm little body beside you to help keep you warm through the night, and keep maybe bark if a bear is coming by, right? Keep you safe. So Kevin, he puts DEET on the under brim of his hat, and that's a great idea. So not knowing if DEET's bad for you entirely, Health Canada says yes, sure, could be. Keeping on your clothing versus keeping on contact of your skin, what a great idea. On the brim of your hat, keeps it away from actually touching you. I know a lot of people also do the double-sided duct tape on the back of their hat too, so if a fly lands on it, they're stuck there. Not a bad idea. Feet on clothes, yeah, David, right. Feet on clothes, no skin for you. Yeah, just don't want to take the risk of having that chemical on you. Martin, do you prefer canoe or kayak? I'm a canoeist through and through. Nothing wrong with kayaks. It's just one of those fake things to fight about, so there's yackers out there, there's canoeists out there, and so I enjoy being a canoeist. I find with the canoe, I enjoy just loading up with the bit of gear that I have. I have a 16-foot Swift Q-Aiden canoe, and I solo with that, and I find it's just a perfect balance in the water. for both, just as long as it's not too windy. You start getting over 25 kilometers an hour winds and up, you start kind of spinning around, and you have to do other methods to keep, throw a rock in the bow or fill up a water bag and fill it in the front. But anyway, love my canoe through and through. I just, I've kind of, I grew up canoeing as a child, and I think ever since then, I've just fallen in love with it. I've always go back to it. Bill, thanks, Bill. Yeah, I really enjoy that canoe. David also mentions, yes, keep DEET off any plastics. It's the strangest thing. If you spray DEET on your compass, like if you have a plastic compass, the compass will melt. What a strange thing. The chemicals in that, you think, if it's melting my compass, maybe it shouldn't be on my skin. And so it's that trade-off. What do you do to keep those bugs away? Because boy, they can be incessant, right? It's not like you're by the campfire at night and you have mosquitoes coming and you can just shoo them away, and they learn that you're a swatter. Like, don't come near this guy, he's a swatter. Well, they just keep coming, and so what do you do? A lot of sun shirts, I know people are using these days too, are kind of popular instead of using the chemicals. But okay, I think I'm almost caught up temporarily with the comments, so we'll plug along here. So we finished with the water filter. Now we'll move on to food, because we were just talking about the bag. And so because we're in kind of ice out holding position, you can use a dehydrator now to start kind of planning for future trips. The nice thing about a dehydrator is you can start planning meals and throwing things in the dehydrator, and you can do them kind of component by component, or just as a whole meal, like throw a stew in there and dehydrate the stew. The nice thing about it is you can start that now, and it will keep all the way to canoeing season. So what better way than do that? So what I thought I'd kind of show for you now is just a simple thing we started this morning. So let me see if I can get this to work properly. Oh, hey John, welcome to the chat. So this morning we decided to make some fruit leather, or maybe you think of a fruit roll-up sort of thing. And so we got out some applesauce. And so the trick to this is you have to use unsweetened applesauce. And the problem with sweetened applesauce is that the sugars really mess with the dehydrating process. So make sure you get unsweetened. We've done the thing where you just blindly go in and buy some groceries off the shelf and you end up with the wrong one, but stick with the unsweetened one or you run into problems. It's not worth it. So take your applesauce and maybe you want to spice it up a little bit. So throw in some cinnamon, why not? Mix it all up in a bowl and then glob it on into your dehydrator. And go ahead and fill it up. So in this case, I have what's known as a Nesco dehydrator. And so I got this at, I'll show you the lid here, Lee Valley years ago. And again, it's another one of those pieces of gear that has never failed me. And I think it's one of those, I'm of the methodology of spending more on your gear and hopefully it'll last you longer. Just like the water filter, 20 plus years and never a glitch. This dehydrator is pretty cool. I think I have the sheet here. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly here for you. Yeah, so here it is from Lee Valley. And so it comes in layers, which is kind of neat. So you only have to use the amount of layers that you need to make your meal. So it comes with, I think it was like 5 layers to begin with. You can buy additional layers afterwards. And then if you want to make this fruit leather, like say with the applesauce, you buy trays, obviously, because it doesn't seep through the layers. And what's neat about it is, so in this case here, we did it very simply. We just made one single layer. And so you just simply stack them up. And so you can do, it doesn't necessarily have to be all the same thing. You can do 5 trays of apple leather if you want. But you can also, as long as they're the same temperature to dehydrate them, so this thing has like a little variable knob on it you choose. So I did the fruit leather here at 135 degrees Fahrenheit, 58 degrees Celsius, and took about 5 hours to do fruit leather. So if you're doing things that you can do at the same temperature, you can put in other vegetables and just keep stacking it higher and higher and higher. And I don't find, there hasn't really been an upper limit as far as like too many of these, and you start seeing a decreasing It might take a little longer, I guess maybe with extra moisture buildup, but regardless. So what you end up with, in this case here, is a tray. And there's my roll-up fruit leather. And it just simply peels off. And so you end up with a giant disc here of applesauce. And usually what ends up happening is we'll have a couple of layers of this going. The first layer never makes it to the fridge. We'll just eat it right there on the spot. It's so delicious. The rest of them, you just simply peel it off. And this one actually hasn't finished yet. We stopped it because it was too loud. You didn't want to interfere with the sound quality here. But you peel it off, throw it in a Ziploc bag, and just throw it in the fridge just to keep. And it'll last months and months and months. It's not something that particularly spoils on you that quickly. A lot of neat dehydrators out there. There's some that come with racks. We just chose this one because we're big fans of Lee Valley. And they actually have a lot of neat camping gear out there. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer those. And I'm just going to pop back here into the questions here and see how we're doing. David was talking back to the DEET question. Yep, not for skim. Yeah, I don't blame you. DEET's a funny thing. Looks like good. I think we're still caught up. Good. So let's see how we're doing here. Oh, we've blown past half an hour. Pretty good. Thanks, everybody. So actually, that's one other nice kind of side effect here of the dehydrator. You can't tell, but the whole house smells like applesauce right now, which is kind of fun. Okay, and so hey Brent, welcome to the chat. As we kind of wind down here, I was aiming for half an hour, but we're going to go maybe a bit closer to an hour here. I thought what I'd do is, while we're all thinking of ice out conditions, I was going to kind of just give you 3 easy spring canoe routes, or kayaking for that matter. I think one nice thing to do is while you're in this ice out mentality, we all have our maps. We're all planning for longer trips. But what I like to do in the spring, kind of on that shoulder season before the bugs get bad, is just go out for a short trip. And what that helps me do is test all my gear, make sure everything's okay, that I haven't forgotten anything. I can start making notes and when I go back home again, rejigger my setup. And so short trips are kind of a nice little way of doing that. I sure appreciate though like a full spring trip when everything's green. So if you're going on the shoulder season, it's a little browner, but we do what we can. And I know in today's kind of tough times too, crown land camping is kind of our only real option, but hopefully brighter things will come. So let's go, let me have a swig of water here, and I'll go through 3 really easy routes that I enjoy. Kevin mentions that while dehydrating, keep the food flavors the same. That's true. I forgot about that. You don't want to kind of mix and match too much. Like if it's all fruit or all vegetables, that's no problem. But you start going with other funny things, and the smells can kind of go through. Hey Preston, welcome to the chat. Like I said before, everyone, we're saving this to Facebook. We're going to add it onto YouTube a little later on tonight. And then that way, if you've just missed anything, don't worry, you'll be able to catch up. So, 3 easy spring routes. Let's start off with my favorite park, Algonquin Park. So, Algonquin is completely massive, and I think one of the reasons why I appreciate this route is one of the ones I did. One of my first ever canoe trips was through here, and so I've always kind of been really attached to it. And so you have to excuse the quality. I just took a quick picture here with my phone of the map here. You can see it's nice little crinkles. But we'll start off at Kingscott, which is at the kind of the bottom left center of your screen there. And that it's usually a little bit of a bumpy drive in, but a very nice paddle. So why I chose this is because you have 2 little things you can do with this trip. You can, if you look closely to the bottom right corner there, you will see a little thing called High Falls. And with High Falls, it's a day trip, easy to walk in, and you hike in. There's a nice big parking lot there. It takes about maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. There's a beautiful waterfall there. You can't beat it. So start off the trip or end the trip that way. Kind of nice, relaxing, let your mind flow kind of trip. Hike in, hike back out, pop in your car. Maybe about another half-hour trip from High Falls up to the King Scott put-in. And from there, let me just follow along with you here. Pull out my old Jeff's map here. Okay, so bottom of the map, you see King Scott. King Scott, you paddle on up, do the 1.5 km portage. You're heading for Big Rock, which then a little quick portage into Byers. From Byers to Branch, and Branch to Scorch. And actually kind of funny, Kevin just did this actually in his Algonquin presentation earlier this week. And so sorry for copying Kevin, but this is actually one of my favorite trips too. And Scorch is your destination. It's a beautiful lake. It can get a little low in the fall. But it's actually, like, I easily can solo this, in half a day sort of thing. So it's not that far. Again, we're just focusing on quick little trips that are easy. Bring your gear, see what's out there. And for the next trip, we're going to talk about Kawartha Highlands. And for whatever reason, I seem to always get really nice photos in Kawartha Highlands. Don't know what it is. Kawartha Highlands was a park that I used to visit a lot back when it was Crown Land, before it became an official provincial park. And it was even kind of pre-internet days when you knew there was a glut of land there. You wanted to go out canoeing and check it out, but you didn't know much about it. It wasn't an official park. It's always kind of asking friends and finding out through the grapevine what's to see out there. And so I remember I had a friend of mine tell me a route in. You had to follow, like, it's all cottages in there, so you're following all these little bumpy cottage routes. And then I remember, I think he told me it was into Cold Lake, I think is where we were headed. And I couldn't remember by the time I was getting in there. I was getting nervous because the sun was setting. I was like, was it Cold or was it Gold? I couldn't remember because it's two lakes and they're both named very similar, right? So thankfully we found it. It was Cold Lake. Cold Lake actually has some very nice campsites. Anyway, so the nice thing about Kawartha Highlands is I like loops. I don't quite like seeing the same thing twice, and so that's why I like going out and around. So with the Kawartha Highlands, let me see, I'll pull up the map here for you. So this is the Serpentine Loop, and again, another very easy loop to do for a weekend trip or something like that. You pop out, Anstruther Lake is the access point. It's a fairly long paddle. I really hate big lakes, so Anstruther isn't that enjoyable to me because there's a lot of cottages on it. But once you kind of make that first hop, that's when the trip gets more interesting. And so you actually hop over a dam into Rathburn, and away you go. I don't mind going clockwise or counterclockwise, which will take you up into the upper part of that map you see there on the screen. And there's only a 1.5 km portage. It's fairly flat, nothing too outrageous there. But what's interesting, I find, is the Serpentine Lake. You can definitely tell why it has its name. Once you get into the just east of that portage there, it's one of those parts where the waterway does do that serpentine thing where you're kind of going through the reeds, and I enjoy that part. There's always lots of wildflowers, birds. Great if you enjoy birding. Bring your binoculars. Lots to see. Enjoy that. Anyway, and don't forget your map. Jeez, buy a map. So the last trip I was going to mention is Frontenac, and I think Frontenac is a park that a lot of people might overlook. And the nice thing about Frontenac is that you can zip over on the Highway 401 all the way towards Kingston. It's about half an hour north of the 401 itself. Not that bad to get into. And it's more of a hiking park than a canoeing park. If you are canoeing it, you're almost hiking, portaging as much as you're canoeing, which may not be ideal. But what is nice about Frontenac, and let's just pull up the map here for Frontenac. So I have to give kudos to Frontenac Park. What they've done there is, back to your bear question earlier, the entire park has bear lockers, food lockers put in there. They brought them in during the winter. It makes it easy. Plop them down. There's one per campsite. There is an incredible amount of storage there, and you don't have to worry about bringing a food barrel or your sack or whatever to store your food. Completely bear proof. There's a latch that you have to pull and slide. You can actually bring your own lock from home if you're really worried about critters getting in. But your food is perfectly safe and sound and kind of neat. You don't have that with many other parks. So with Frontenac, and again, bear with me with the quality of this poor map. So this is the map that I've taken. I do the Frontenac Challenge. So I hike, there's about 160 kilometers of trails, and every year I hike them all. So this map here has lasted me 5 years of it. So it's getting kind of ratty, but I definitely lived off it of, if you ever get turned around or lost, you can't beat a map. So this easy one, smack dab in the center of this map is Big Salmon Lake. And you'll remember earlier what I said about I hate big lakes, just because I don't find them that entertaining. It's just a long paddle. But I'll get back to that. So you go up Big Salmon, northeast. There's about a little under a kilometer portage, which will take you into the little clear lake. And there's some beautiful campsites out there. Now, why on earth would I choose paddling a big honking lake like Big Salmon? Well, the nice thing is if you're coming home or you're going there and you're having big, strong winds, this loop gives you a fallback plan. So what I do is if it's nice and clear and flat, no choppy waves, paddle Big Salmon Lake all the way across, do the portage into a little clear lake, and set up camp. But if you're heading home, who wants to paddle into headwinds? And I find there's always headwinds, never tailwinds. But anyway, what this does is there's, again, a little 800 meter portage, which takes you into Little Salmon if you start heading towards back to your put-in. And then a kilometer takes you almost right back out to your put-in. So if there's really strong winds, which I've definitely faced on Big Salmon before, you can kind of opt out, kind of cheat. It means more portaging with your gear, but it sure beats paddling, especially if you're solo tripping like me. You don't want to face those headwinds. You can kind of cheat. You're doing more portaging than maybe normal, but it gives you a safety measure so that you don't run into any kind of risk. Okay, so we're just about wrapped up here. Let me just check the comments here and see how we're doing. Anstruther can be pretty windy. Yeah, it can. That's true. Poor Anstruther. And then again, another one of ththose big lakes. Go back to my Kawartha Highlands one. So Joshua was mentioning how Anstruther can be kind of windy, and no one likes wind, do they? I don't blame them. It's a big lake, and it kind of meanders a bit itself too, so you don't quite get to where you want to go that quickly, but that's true. No fun, is it? Yeah. I should have picked routes where it was just a little simpler. But Joshua likes it. That's good. And Johnny was commenting about the Great Edition. Yeah, those bear bins. I kind of wish all parks would have bear bins. Just simply because it's one less thing you have to bring. You don't have to bring your sack. You don't have to bring a big barrel, other than transporting your food. But it's a peace of mind at night. You don't have to worry about if you hear a critter scampering around outside, they're not going to get in your food, and they're not going to drag your bag away. So that's about it. I think we're about wrapped up there. We've done almost an hour, and I really appreciate that. I was kind of gunning for 30 minutes, but I appreciate the conversation. It sure helps, in funny times when we're kind of quarantined to our house, that we still get to chat out. Humans are such social creatures that it's nice that we can all have a common thing to talk about. And just some of the content that I've seen online recently through Instagram and Facebook and these online chats, just magnificent. So keep them going. I'm tuning into every one of them that I can get my hands on as we're squirreled away inside here. So I think that just about wraps it up. I think that's it. Yeah, so I really wanted to thank everyone for attending. That was a lot of fun. I hope to do some more of these. And if anyone has any additional questions or topics they would like to chat about or want covered, I'd be more than happy to do them. So send them my way, message me on Facebook or Instagram. Give us a follow. We always appreciate just seeing everyone else's trips too. It's completely marvelous. You think, parks like Algonquin, why do I enjoy Algonquin so much? Because it's so huge. I mean, here's poor Jeff's map, and this is only 1/4 of the park, right? So there is so much to see. You think you've seen it all. Well, make the effort. Drive maybe a little further to the northern section and try something like the Barron Canyon. Like you just, I know we travel far and wide, but sometimes in our own backyard, there's some magnificent things to see. Like the Barron Canyon will just blow you away. If you're up north, Quetico, it's just incredible, the parks and things we have. Hopefully that we'll be able to get out and enjoy them soon. Killarney, just we live down here in the south where things are so flat, and you start venturing further and further north, and you see just the majesty of these mountains and hills. That's just incredible. So I definitely hope to see you out there, and I hope to follow along on everyone else's trips and where you're going. So thanks again for everyone for attending. We Kevin's asking when the baby's going out. The baby's asleep right now. We were hoping to have him pop on and say hi to everybody, but hopefully soon. I think where I live, so I live in Omemee, Ontario, which is just west of Peterborough, Ontario, and we have Emily Provincial Park, which is just down the road. And normally I wouldn't be caught going to Emily Provincial Park, but here's our plan for the summer. I can canoe. There's a little put-in just down the road. I'm going to pop in the canoe, paddle down to Emily. We're going to meet my wife Julie down there with Garrick, her son, and we're going to attempt our first camping trip just at a front country camping site. Dead simple, right? I can meet them down there. We'll try it out. It's a good test to see, other than camping in the backyard, but see, do we have the right gear? Have we forgotten anything? Give us that bit of confidence. The more you do something, the more confident you'll be. So hopefully with all that, we'll be more confident. And then the next trip after that will be most likely Algonquin, my favorite park. And we'll go further and further in the backcountry and see how things go. And maybe I'll be able to report back to you on how things went. Maybe that'll be a live chat on its own, just getting out with kids and dogs and all sorts of things, the whole family. Bill asked, any big trips planned this year? No, I'm one of those people that wait to the last second. I know we're always playing with that 5-month window. We're trying to plan a trip, and I find so many other things come into play and distract us and might not work out. So I'm one of those people that wait to the last second. I find usually, thank goodness, there's a cancellation in time, and so that will kind of shape where I go. I'll have certain ideas in mind, Killarney, Algonquin, maybe further north, further east, and I'll have a hot spot where I might want to go, and hopefully, you'll find with Algonquin, like it's a zoo in the summer, but I'll go in the shoulder seasons, or I'll find that the outer perimeter of the park will be book solid, but if you can really hunker down and make your way, that many portages into the park, the interior is a little more sparse, and so we'll grab a site then. And secretly, I don't tell my wife, but I enjoy the immediacy of it, of the, okay, here's a spot, we're going, and just jump in the canoe and go. So she's a planner, so I'm sure we'll meet in the middle somewhere. Ask the same thing for you then, Bill. Do you have anything planned, big plans? I know always trying to venture further north. I find, as Algonquin gets booked up, you head further north, and so Killarney's getting kind of booked, so we'll keep going north. I know Lake Superior would be just, it's such a stunning park. I'd love to explore more of that. Pukasawa National Park, even further north than that, looks like, of the photos, I think that's a problem with Instagram. You follow people, you follow their trips, and you just drool over where they're going and just how neat it looks, deep, especially the backcountry stuff. Follow Pine Martin if you're doing any kind of crown land camping. There's some, as our parks get more and more full, there's some interesting crown land, and there's a bit more secrecy behind it because we always want to keep our crown land secrets to ourselves. But start with his videos. He has a great instruction video on how to step into crown land, because that seems kind of daunting. My question's always, where am I going to park the car? I feel like I'm just pulling over in the middle of somewhere that you shouldn't be parking, and leaving the car abandoned. So follow his videos. They'll help explain what to do, and how to step into that. It's a little different than parking or camping, pardon me, in our provincial parks or national parks, but just to get out there and enjoy it, it's well worth it. So good. Yep. Thanks, Evan. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate the comment. And thank you. Thanks for attending this. Whether you watch it now or you watch it afterwards, I really appreciate it. Keep the comments coming. That helps shape my site, Traversing. I can't believe that this fall, Traversing is turning 10 years. I can't believe, it's one of those, like, time flies when you're having fun. And having an outdoors blog is a perfect excuse for me to do more outdoors stuff. And so I really, live off your feedback, and that helps shape the site too. The more things that you, feedback I get from you, helps me kind of decide what to do next and where to go, what kind of thing, gear to review, that sort of stuff. I really appreciate it. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and hope to do some more of these, and hope to see you guys out there. Take care.